So I think the role of the body in religious practice is very important to look at, and this is something for theology to deal with quite seriously. It's very often the case that talk of the soul is usually thought of as something like a disembodied mind, something that's not dependent on a brain or a mind and that can exist beyond the death of the mind or the brain, or the death of the body at any rate. And so it tends to be something which is purely mental, and yet very often, and we go back to, say, talk about people's predispositions to religious thinking, if they do think of themselves as surviving after death, or they do think of themselves as having a continued existence as a soul, they tend to still think that they can see things and hear things, and they can be looking in various directions, and yet we know that we have to use our senses, and we have to use the intricate structures of the brain and body's relationship to its external senses to be able to have that information. So I think it's very difficult for people to even contemplate a pure sense of mind independent of the body, which doesn't bring some bodily aspects with it which are uncached and are not owned up to. So I think just as we now see the embodied mind as a much better view of ourselves as persons than a disembodied Cartesian spirit or soul, so I think for religious thinking we have to probably, and people in theology will have to address the issue very seriously about what it is to have an embodied view of ourselves in religious experience.